Guys, I hate to say it, but there's a dirty secret that you only know if you build apps with AI. The more you build, the bigger the chance something else breaks. We're going to change that today. I'm David. I used to be a test engineer at Microsoft, and I've partnered with KaneAI to show you the fastest way to test your app end to end. So in the next 60 seconds, you'll see it in action, why it's a better safety net, and stay tuned till the end to see how AI test cases can still work even when your app completely changes its interface. Let's dive in. This is the KaneAI homepage, and here you'll author end-to-end tests for your web app or your mobile app. Now notice there's no code editor here to write tests. Instead, you write tests by writing prompts. For example, let's say we're working on youtube.com. This prompt has 5 test cases for the search feature. It takes a few seconds to parse your prompt into valid test cases. And when it's done, you'll see those test cases grouped by scenario. Every test case has a description in plain English on what it accomplishes. And when you click on that test case, you'll get to see the test steps. Each step also has an expected outcome that it's paired with, and you can choose to add steps or remove them before you execute the test. You can choose the test cases you want to keep by checking or unchecking the ones in this list, then click Create and Automate when you're ready to run. KaneAI has an extensive execution layer which we'll get into later. You see a small part of that here where we enter the application URL, and then let's bump up the concurrency to 5 tests at a time. Then click Create and Automate and the tests start running. When you drill into a test case, you can click View Session to watch it live. For example, this test verifies that when you search on YouTube, you can filter out shorts. So check this out. When I wrote this test case, I wrote search for Kevin Stratvert as one of the first steps. KaneAI figures out how to do that just with that prompt. I don't have to tell it text box IDs or CSS selectors, it just does it. That's what makes it a testing agent. You can see all the steps for a test case on the left-hand side of the screen. As tests complete, they'll move from the Running tab to the Completed tab. That's where you can inspect them in more detail and see if they passed or failed. You can see this test case succeeded because there are check marks next to all the steps. Now again, we're testing youtube.com here, so every time there's a new update to YouTube, we can rerun this test case to make sure there aren't any regressions. Now let's see how you can actually run this yourself. To get started, go to the link down below in the description and follow along with me. When you click that link, you'll land on this page. Click the Get Started Free button in the top right, fill in your details here, and after a few button clicks, you'll land in the app. So let's break down how KaneAI actually works. You'll start out in this mode called Quick Author. That's good for writing one test case in plain English, and KaneAI will figure out how to run it. But the more powerful way to use KaneAI is to generate multiple test cases at once. To do this, click on the atom icon to enter Generate Scenarios mode. This is what we ran in that first demo to generate multiple test cases at once. By the way, you can grab this prompt from the resources section in the description. Now with test creation, it is useful to know some of the options here. So let's explore the settings pane by clicking on this icon together. First, you can set limits on the maximum number of scenarios and test cases created per scenario. Some people mix these up, so here's how I think about them. Scenarios are like the destination you want to get to. It's like search takes you to the search page. A test case, on the other hand, is like a specific path to get to that destination. Examples are you search with filters, you search without filters, sorted by views, etc. Memory enhancement means KaneAI learns from interacting with your app across multiple test cases and sessions, so it gets better at navigating it over time. And project instructions allow you to set persistent context for all test cases in a project. So if I were doing this again, I'd limit this to one scenario because that's all I have inside my prompt. Here's what's more interesting. You can write your test cases by hand like this, or you can upload a document like a PRD or product requirements document. This is a PRD for an app called LinkBio. It's a custom app that's a slimmed down version of Linktree. You upload PRDs by using the paperclip icon in the bottom right corner of the prompt, and then any other text that you use inside of the prompt just serves as additional context. You can also attach screenshots, and for advanced users, you can connect this directly to Jira or Azure DevOps, and KaneAI will read your tickets directly. Now, best practice would be to provide some context about what to test in LinkBio. But let's stretch the system a bit and see what it generates just with the PRD as context. It takes a little less than a minute to generate. Let's look at the test cases together. Now, you guys haven't seen this app yet, so it's hard to tell if these test cases are good or not. But what's important is if you identify a test case that needs some tweaks, that you know how to do that. For example, this first test case verifies that when you add a new link to the list, that it appears at the end of the list. If you wanted that link to appear at the beginning of the list instead, you can click on the test case and find the exact step that you want to edit. Here you'll see it's step 4. The step is to click the add link button, but the outcome is that the new link card appears as the 4th item in the list. To change this or any step, click on the text, make the change in plain English, so here we're making it the first item, and then we click save. Note that if you want the test case description to update, you do have to make that change yourself too. When you're ready to run those test cases, you click create and automate in the top right. Let's talk about some of the settings because there's some really cool power in here. First up is the test platform. You saw the desktop browser before, but you can also use a mobile browser or even a mobile app. For mobile apps, you can do iOS or Android and any modern OS version. And you can upload your app directly instead of going through TestFlight or Google Play. Agent concurrency sets how many test cases run at once. This is dependent on your plan. Generate data dynamically is useful when you have a bunch of forms to fill out. And dismiss pop-ups is super useful for sites that, well, have a lot of pop-ups. Now, if you're thinking, I could just ask Claude Code to write these tests, well, you could, but you'd still need somewhere to run them across browsers and devices. KaneAI bundles the creation, the execution, and the infrastructure. And speaking of which, what about testing your own app before you put it out to the world? Let's check that out next. This is the LinkBio app we just looked at the PRD for. As you can tell, it's pretty simple. You can set up your page with a name and tagline, you can give it a theme, and you set up links for it. You can download this app yourself through the following GitHub page, and then to get it running, follow the installation instructions. Now to get KaneAI to run this, make sure you head back to the home page and then click on this tunnel icon in the top right. Look for the download link halfway down the pop-up window to get the Tunnel app on your computer. You'll need this app to connect KaneAI to your locally hosted web apps. Extract the zip folder and you should see a folder with a single app called LT. If you're on Windows, make sure you right-click on the executable, go to Properties, and then unblock the Security section. Click OK, and then right-click anywhere in the folder, and then click Open in Terminal. On Windows, this opens PowerShell, but what we actually need is a command prompt. So type CMD and then press Enter. Then go back to KaneAI and click the copy button next to the command. Then back in the command prompt, right-click to paste. Before you hit Enter, you do need one more parameter for this to work. So type exactly what I say. Space hyphen hyphen env space ht hyphen prod. Then press Enter and you'll enable localhost testing in just a few seconds. When you see the message, you can start testing now, head back to KaneAI. Remember, you can do that by going over to the sidebar, clicking KaneAI, and then clicking Agent. Now, unfortunately, Quick Author and Generate Scenarios do not support localhost testing, so you'll need to click on Author Browser Test to enable it. Now, the most important setting here is under Network Configuration. You need to click the dropdown and then select Tunnel. Assuming you followed instructions and added that env parameter, you should see your tunnel can be selected with the Select Tunnel dropdown. Now, before clicking Author Test, take note of some of the other options you have here. You can change the time zone your tests run in, you can change the command line options for the Chrome browser, and you can add custom headers for your test case. In addition, if you want to test on a mobile browser, you can also click on the Mobile tab to access all sorts of options to test with. We'll skip all these advanced settings and go back to desktop and then click Author Test. This creates a virtual environment for us to start testing. On the right-hand side of the screen, we have a virtual server running as if it's on my local computer. To show how that works, we can go to the address bar inside of the browser and then go to localhost directly to access the LinkBio app. And there it is. And you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, it's noticed we've gone to this page. In this mode, we're writing a test case by recording our actions. So anything we do on the right-hand side of the page gets written as an action in the test case. So let's keep going and test that the Edit Link button works. You can follow along with me. Click the Edit button on the first link. Then let's change it to YouTube Channel 1. Then click Save. Then at the bottom of the screen, click View My Page. Now to validate that the edit actually occurred, you need to type in a prompt. So first we turn off manual interaction by clicking the button here. And then in the prompt box, we'll validate that the first link name is YouTube Channel 1. While that's working, keep in mind that you can press the slash key to trigger more advanced validations. For example, you can add custom code to validate or change the web page, you can assert on network logs, and you can even do visual comparisons with screenshots. Back in the test steps, we see that KaneAI has translated our prompt into a set of proper verification steps. You can keep navigating the app and adding more assertions, but let's stop here and click Save. You'll want to click Save and Validate Code to make sure that this test case can be rerun. This gets saved into a test case, which you can rerun at any time by clicking Execute Test Case. Now we're in a different part of the app, so to find this test case again from the main menu, click on Test Manager and then Projects, and then browse to your project. In this case, it's KaneAI generated, and you'll find your test case from there. That's great for a demo, but what about what happens in real life? When the app changes its UI and now you have to update all your test cases. Check this out. We're back inside the LinkBio app and about to make a major change. I've just instructed Claude Code to update the app so all of the edit buttons turn into icons and the edit is inline instead of its own form. This will drastically change how the app looks and in most cases would break existing automation tests. So let's see how Kane deals with it. Restarting the app shows the new interface. You can see all the new icons here for every item, and editing shows that all the fields are in one line. Now let's revert the change that we made and head back to our test case. I haven't made any changes to the test case, I'm just going to click Execute. This essentially starts up a server to run our test case. When you see the green dot appear next to the Scenarios button, it means you can click it to watch your test in action. You can expand the list of test cases and start watching the logs, but if you want to watch it live, click on the test button directly. This brings up a familiar view where you can see all of the commands the test case runs. To watch your test case live, make sure to click the play button here. After about a minute, the test still passes. How is that possible? We know from the video still that it did in fact use the new website design. Here's what's different about KaneAI. When something unexpected happens, like a button turns into an icon or it changes its name, Kane doesn't give up. It has some tricks up its sleeve to still achieve the objective of the test case, even if the original steps don't work anymore. You'll see that in the command list as locator auto-healed. This is the key insight. KaneAI is a master at matching the intent of a test case against what it actually sees on the screen. Now to wrap up, let me show you a few more things that KaneAI gives you that would take a long time to build yourself. Number one is code export. Now we're back in the test case that we just created, and under the covers of every test case is code. On the code tab, you can actually view the Python code required to run this test case yourself. Soon you'll also be able to generate the code in different frameworks. This includes Cypress, Playwright, and WebDriver IO. Number two is cross-device testing. Head over to the left sidebar menu, go to the main menu, and then click on Test Manager, then Configurations. You can click Create a Configuration to create different combinations of browsers, operating systems, browser versions, and even screen resolutions. Once you set up your configurations, you can create number 3 in this list, a test run. Still under Test Manager, click on Projects and then click on Your Project. This shows all the test cases you've created organized by folder. To select a set of test cases to run, click on Test Runs, and then click on Create Test Run. Give your test run a name, and then make sure to select the type of test cases correctly. We want the KaneAI generated ones, and then next we'll select the specific test cases that we want. Select the test cases to run, and then click Add Test Cases. You'll need to select an assignee for each test case first, and then you can add configurations that you just created. After you click Apply, you'll see all the test cases multiplied by their configurations. When you're ready, click Show Execution Preview, then click Save Test Run. Run it by clicking Run on Hyper Execute and then Run Instances Now. After it's done, you'll find its results back in the Test Runs view. You can inspect individual test cases here, but if you want to rerun the entire test run, click on the ellipsis in the Test Runs view and then click Duplicate Test Run. And finally, number 4, mobile app testing. From the Quick Author view, click on the dropdown that says Desktop Browser and then click on Mobile App, then click the Settings icon. From here, you can upload your app as an APK for Android or as an IPA file for iOS. Then choose the device to test on and then click Start Testing. KaneAI will set up your app session inside a virtual mobile device. You don't need TestFlight and you don't need Google Play either. Then run through your test scenario on your mobile app and then click Save to save your test case. At Microsoft, we used to spend days writing the types of test cases that KaneAI generates in minutes. But the real win isn't replacing your entire test suite, it's smoke testing. Does your app actually work on the browsers and phones that your users have? Does it look like it actually belongs there? That's the key. And remember, this does not replace the need for human judgment. You should still audit your test cases to make sure they test what you want. One of the best outcomes of KaneAI is that when your app's interface changes, these tests don't break often. They auto-heal by understanding what a button does, not what it's called in your code. It's not perfect, but it is a safety net I wish I had when I was writing tests back at Microsoft. Check out the link in the description below to get started. I'm David. I'll see you in the next video.